That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality. Anything they can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank.
People are going to be doing what they always do when the economy tanks. They will be blaming immigrants and corporate.
This country has proven resilient based on the fact that its foundation is the age of reason.
America is just now coming to grips with what unfolded here in the early morning hours here in Orlando.
In this city, thousands of demonstrators marched to protest the death of Eric Garner.
Breaking news, a fresh act of madness. The snipers hit 11 police officers.
Gun sales in this country are spiking in the aftermath of the San Bernardino terror attack.
We're bringing it on ourselves. And that's the thing. Al-Qaeda, all those guys, ISIS, they're not compared to the damage that we can do to ourselves on a regular basis.
Welcome to the Age of Reason podcast, where we are not for the faint of thought. This is episode 49. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Hopefully my voice is sounding okay. Just had a Raider game. Was at a Raider game yesterday, so lots of screaming, but I think should be okay. How you doing?
Voice issues, but for a different reason. I'm just getting over being sick, so I'm a little gruff. But you guys won again yesterday, right?
10-2, baby.
Oh shit, man! Can't wait to see how this turns out. But you know, while you're enjoying, both of us are enjoying football on Sundays. We, far too many people are going to church. So we should probably compensate for that with some Skeptic Sunday School. What's up today, Reverend Gutierrez?
Well, today, let's see. On your advice, I bought Fallout. So Fallout
yes.
4.
Yes, you did.
After playing that for pretty much all of last week, when I was thinking of a topic for Sunday school, I went back to kind of apocalypse or things like that. So today we're going to touch on a couple different prophecies that obviously haven't came true, and just a little bit more on some end times things. The first one is, we'll touch on Christianity first.
Are we going to touch on the current apocalyptic issues that are going on? Well, yeah, we'll do that in news, I guess. But.
Yeah, that's in news. Current events. Yeah, but so to start off with Christianity, pretty much the book of Revelations is like the roadmap for the apocalypse there. Pretty much after Judgment Day, all the believers are going to get sucked up to heaven, and all of us dirty non-believers will be down here to suffer. So that's how it starts. In the Bible, if you read it, there's a couple different passages that show that the end times was supposed to have already happened a long time ago. One passage is here. It's there shall be some standing here, which shall not taste death, till they see of the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And then it says that this generation shall not pass till all these things are fulfilled. So basically, some people would still be alive when the apocalypse happened, when Judgment Day happened. Obviously, they're about 2,000 years dead, so that's not true. But
wouldn't this be where a religious person would come in and say, "But yeah, one generation is worth 1,000 years," or something like that in God's eyes? Or I'm curious to see how they would combat that.
Yeah, it probably would be something similar like that. A generation.
God was talking to all of his children, past, present, and future.
Yeah, it's a God's generation, so that's a little bit longer. A couple millennia. He's got time.
Yeah.
So sticking, I guess, with some Christian ones. So the Pope, funny enough, his name. This one was Innocent. Pope Innocent III. Said the world was going to end in the year 1284 because that was 666, obviously the 666 years after the founding of Islam. So I thought that one was interesting. You know, they said, "Oh, Islam's gonna, it's the devil."
Islam's the devil, yeah.
So 660 years after the 66 years after the founding, that was supposed to be the end times. Obviously, we're 800 years past that. In Russia, there was a group of people called the Old Believers, and they thought in the year 1669 the world was going to end. So a total, when I was reading these, I was like, what the hell? 20,000 people burned themselves to death. To stave off the Antichrist. They didn't want the Antichrist to get them. So
it sounds like they got burnt.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, these prophecies haven't worked out for too many people so far. But going forward, let's see. Oh, we have the Mormons.
These guys again?
Got to get these guys in there. Kind of similar to the Bible. From Joseph Smith, I prophesize in the name of the Lord God, and let it be written, the Son of Man will not come in the clouds of heaven till I am 85 years old. Joseph Smith would have been 85 in 1890, but he died a long time before that. Remember, he was assassinated by a mob. So
yeah, and if you guys remember the Skeptic Sunday School we did on Mormons, you'll remember that all of this came from a rock. The translating rock.
It was gold.
Oh, well, it's still
golden rock.
All right, all right. I stand corrected, I guess.
That would kill anybody else that read it. So then one guy that we mentioned previous, I think, not when he died, because he died a couple years ago, but Harold Camping predicted the end times at least 12 different times. Mm-hmm. The biggest one, I think, was 2011. After that, he pushed it back again.
He had his math. He had his math wrong, right? Isn't that what he said? He screwed up the math.
Yeah, the first 11 times. Then he the last time, the big one was May 21st, 2011. After that, he pushed it to October 21st, 2011. Said, damn, I was 6 months off. When that one came without the end times, he finally gave up at the end and said, you know what? It's a sin for me to try to figure this out. I screwed up. Sorry. But I'm not going to give your money back.
Of course not. I'm sure he's in a mansion somewhere. Probably still runs a mega church.
Actually, he's dead. But
well, I mean, in heaven.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so away from Christianity. So in Islam, the end of the world is referred to as the hour. And then this is interesting stuff. It involves Jesus. So Jesus comes back to Damascus to slay an antichrist who's put the earth in peril. So I mean, I guess kind of action filmish, you know, like Jesus comes back, you know, with sword drawn.
It reminds me of that old Mad TV skit where they said, but long before Terminator 3 came out, that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to get sent back in time to protect Jesus. And prevent him from being crucified, so he keeps killing Judas. Yeah, I was here to protect you. Yeah, hasta la vista, baby Jesus.
So Jesus will slay the Antichrist, and then a period of harmony will ensue. So everything's going to be good after that, but then Jesus Christ will die a natural death somehow, and after that, that's when the hour starts. The destruction starts after Jesus' natural death.
Well, the natural death has to be better than his first one. I would think. I would hope so.
Yeah, you would hope so. So a couple more in the Hindu religion. The god Vishnu comes back in the last cycle of time. there's a figure called Kulki who rides a white horse. He carries a sword that looks like a comet and destroys the forces of evil. So we got another good guy over here. It's not like an apocalypse, but that's eventually supposed to happen. We're gonna have somebody with a comet sword destroying evil. And then the best one, in my opinion, is Buddhist, and it's nice and peaceful. So it's the equivalent of Armageddon. I'm gonna destroy this word. It's Shambhala, and that's where good triumphs over evil. Uh, the planet is restored rather than destroyed, so people can pursue enlightenment.
That's nice.
So that's a happy ending in Buddhism, at least.
That's
I guess
the happiest ending out of any religion, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think Asians are known for their happy endings, so.
Oh man, that's crazy. The massage parlors will be paved with gold. Oh, that's hilarious. You got any more?
That's all I got for Sunday school today. So.
All right.
So news. First thing I got today, staying with the church, Pope extends the ability for priests to forgive abortions. Obviously, this Pope's been doing some good things. This is another one. Before, I guess last year for the Year of Mercy, I missed this one, but he gave them the initial right to forgive an abortion, and it was only good for the Year of Mercy. So its expiration date was coming up. So he sent out another holy decree that said it's now permanent. I wish to restate as firmly as I can that abortion is a grave sin, since it puts an end to an innocent life, the Pope's letter states. In the same way, however, I can and must state that there is no sin that God's mercy cannot reach and wipe away when it finds a repentant heart seeking to be reconciled with the Father.
Oh. Well, wait. I mean, that would extend beyond the any time if God's heart is always supposed to be that way. Anyway, I guess what I'm looking for is every time this Pope does something, I wouldn't even say it's good. This is more like, all right, we'll take
semi-modern.
Yeah, but every time he has done something positive, something negative has usually quickly followed after that. But how are the right wingers taking this?
Well, yeah, it's funny. On all the Fox websites and stuff, some of the comments are like, "Who does this guy think he is?"
They said he had no point. Jeb Bush and Rubio and all these other guys during the primaries said the Pope had no grounds for when he said about treating the poor better, that we don't take fiscal policy from our religion. They said the same thing about climate change. Now they're going to say that we don't go to our religion for morality?
It's kind of
Wouldn't that be awesome, though? I mean, that would be great if they said that, because then, I mean, shit, about maybe 40% of my arguments with religious people, they wouldn't be able to say anything now.
Yeah, if only, but...
we're not going to be that lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, it's a good thing, I guess. But there's plenty more room for improvement, obviously. So this one's from the website pathos.com. It's a pretty good atheist resource, by the way. Teacher promotes Christianity in class, cried persecution when told to stop, and she lost her appeal. So this article is actually quite long. It talks about the whole process, which is pretty interesting. So this teacher, her name is I want to say Jolie Silver. She of all things, she's a science teacher who doubles as a sponsor for the school's Bible club. So somebody sent a report into the Freedom from Religious Foundation, saying that she had several things that were that shouldn't be allowed, I guess, basically. So when they went to investigate her classroom, they found several posters. One of them reading, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust." And these are posters posted in the classroom. Another one, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." So I mean, there was several different posters that it said the little, scripture on there. She had a picture of the hill with the 3 crosses or whatever, or just different handwritten notes that were talking about Christianity. So I mean, she had a lot of things, and so they told her, please take him down. It's not acceptable. She also had a prayer request box in the classroom, which she said was for the Sunday school. I mean, for the Bible school thing, but she kept it in open view during class. So they asked her, they said, please take it down. During your Bible study class, you can pull it out, but, otherwise put it away. So she appealed. She said her arguments were pretty interesting. She said they were illegally trying to take her away from her Bible school privileges, but they clearly stated unless they would only do that if she didn't follow up with their demands. Another thing that she said was one of the school's social workers had a picture of a rainbow on her door that said "acceptance practiced here," and no one told her to take that down. So she's basically equating equality
with anti-religion.
Yeah.
If only there was a place on, private property where people could go and do these things.
Yeah, maybe the government could even make them like tax-free or something, so they wouldn't even.
That's a great idea. Then they can keep their bullshit out of our business. Damn, maybe one of these days. They should have really thought about putting something like that in, I don't know, like the first fucking amendment or something. Who knows? Whatever.
Yeah. So she appealed on those grounds. She lost her appeal recently. So we have that. I did want to notice. I did want to point out, I guess, because typically what I do with these stories is, I'll look up several different sources and read about them. I couldn't find this one. It was on pathos.com. There was some Christian websites that had it, obviously from a different perspective.
Sure.
But this is just, I hate to say the mainstream media, but there was not a single, I guess, almost trusted source that had an article about this. And I just think it's interesting, like when a cat gets stuck in a sewer or something like that, and it's cute the way they rescue it. All these USA Today and CNN or whatever always make an article about it, but something, like this, it's just, you have to find, basically religious, either anti-religious or religious websites to get information like this. So,
agreed.
Speaking of which, another article from Pathos. 23-year-old atheist won Michigan City Council. She's actually pretty cool. She's 23-year-old, so a young woman. Marissa Posler. She got elected to the Wyoming City Council in Michigan. It was a little confusing. I was like, Wyoming City Council. But she's studying to be a music teacher. She wanted it to be more diverse and be made up of different age groups and stuff. So it was pretty cool. She when she took her oath, she raised her right hand instead of putting it on a Bible, and she had spoke to the clerk previously, and they gave her a secular oath. So it didn't say, I swear to God or whatever. And the other thing I thought was interesting was it said used affirm instead of solemnly swear. I didn't know solemnly swear was a religious
I would imagine if it didn't come from that, it was probably made famous by that. I'm sure. I would venture to guess.
Yeah. Interesting point. But yeah, so that, I mean, that's a little bit of good news. She won, and she said
Nice.
she didn't really get a lot of flack for doing the non-religious.
That's because she was
oaths.
in Wyoming, Michigan, and not Wyoming, Wyoming.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure.
When I first read, I was like, in Wyoming, wow, But
Yeah,
then,
damn. I've been to
so
Wyoming. That is not. She wouldn't have won there. I guarantee
She
you
would,
that.
yeah. Okay, so moving on. So Alabama Supreme Court Judge Roy Moore, son arrested for the eighth time in 5 years. So we spoke about this guy couple months ago. Judge Roy Moore, who refused to accept gay marriage as law, so he was removed. He had previously been removed for bringing in a giant statue of the Ten Commandments and not removing it when showed the Constitution, basically. The reason we bring it up is just his son was arrested again for the eighth time in 5 years. This time, it's reportedly hunting without a license. Some of his other offenses include DUIs and domestic disputes. It's not a complete, I guess, reflection of his parents or whatever. But you just think when somebody is so worried about taking away people in Alabama's rights to get married, he would, work a little bit more at home and take care of.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is gay marriage will corrupt the sanctity of marriage and sacrifice family values and the traditional family and all that shit. And we see he's providing great evidence for that claim. Not to mention, I mean, he could be our attorney general one day, since I can think of another guy who just got appointed attorney general who was a judge in Alabama that that was also shot down.
Yeah.
Mr. Sessions.
Mr. Sessions. Okay, so this one here, a report out that Donald Trump has Pence taking daily intelligence briefings and's only sat on a couple. So basically, every day your intelligence officials come in and brief you on, intelligence, basically, what's going on, different spots of the world, different hot spots. I mean,
I have the best brain, I assure you. Intelligence, I don't need any.
And that's basically, I guess, his answer. And we I guess should have been aware of this when Kasich came out and said he offered me to be the most powerful vice president in history. I mean, basically that's what we have here. Pence is just the lucky duck instead of Kasich. But yeah, so Leon Panetta, the former head of the CIA, he did an interview yesterday saying that he's worked with the last 9 presidents. The last 9 have all taken daily briefings. So this is something, unprecedented. Basically.
But should have been expected, honestly. I mean, Trump, you're right. When Kasich came out and said this, Trump, nobody denied it. So this is kind of exactly what Trump said he was going to do. So
he's busy making America great again. God damn it.
Yeah, and we'll get into more of what that means as we get further along in this episode. But yeah, not surprising.
Okay, so my last one here, I actually have a amendment to it. So I was going to announce that Dylan Roof, the Charleston shooter in the church, the black church that happened last year, was going to represent himself in court. Again, like I said, but right before the show, I kind of
it just came out. It just came out today.
The stories again.
Yeah,
updated today. He is not actually. He asked for help. Let's see. I would like to ask if my lawyers can represent me for the guilt phase of the trial only. Can you let me have them back for the guilt phase, and I will represent myself for the sentencing phase of the trial? If you would allow that, then that's what I would like to do. Roof said. He also asked that his lawyers do not present evidence on his behalf in hopes that embarrassing documents would not make its way to the general public. I'm not sure exactly what embarrassing documents. I mean, obviously they're hidden to this point, but yeah. So the reason why I brought the story up and was gonna remark on it was because if he was representing himself, he would have the ability to cross-examine the survivors of the attack. So he hasn't been very sympathetic, since his time in custody and stuff. So it definitely could have been an interesting, awkward, or uncomfortable situation
Right.
for the survivor. So it looks like that's not going to happen. So that is a good thing. But we'll stay updated with the trial.
Yeah, and from what I read, the judge told him he's not allowed to change his mind again. This is his final switch. So, yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what happens out of all this, and we've talked about the death penalty and all that stuff, but I'm still with that. But this is one of those things where it's just like, lock him up.
Yeah. I mean, lock him up for life and make him. To me, I honestly, I just know how much of a thinker I am, and just being stuck in one room for the rest of your life with nothing but your thoughts. Yeah, kill me. So.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on here. So, white nationalists have started what they are calling the Professor Watch List. This has been put on by an organization called Turning Point USA, and they have launched their Professor Watch List website. On this website, they are basically posting photos if they have them, but names, locations where they teach, home addresses, and their offenses. And the offenses is basically what their goal is, which is to expose anti-American values, discrimination against conservative students, and leftist propaganda being taught in our college classrooms. With Trump and all this other shit, any type of registry that's being put together makes me very, very nervous.
Well, yeah, I mean, you saw, you remember the Sarah Palin's one on gun control that had targets over, the Congress people that were for gun control. And then I believe it was, I want to say Kathy Giffords, who was shot.
In Arizona.
In Arizona, yeah. So, yeah, obviously, we've seen what these things can do. I guess a quick personal note. I remember when I was a kid, and I have I don't see him very often, but he an uncle that's really religious and very conservative, and he had asked me. I was like 12 or 13. He asked me what I wanted to do when I grow up, and I told him, I'm kind of interested in being a lawyer. And he said, "Oh, you'll probably go one of those damn liberal colleges," and, and it was weird because at 12 or 13, I was kind of like,
liberal.
I might even have been younger, and I was kind of like, what the hell is he talking about? But as I grew up, I was thinking, I stuck with me that this guy, that's the thinking. It's like, oh, you're going to a college, it's going to be a damn liberal, and it's yeah, it's too bad, these white nationalists.
Hopefully this whole thing will be a short run. That's what all we can really hope and work towards is to minimize these effects. Speaking of effects, a Tennessee woman is facing 3 felony charges for an attempted coat hanger abortion. She was 24 weeks pregnant, and when it didn't go so well, her husband took her to the hospital, where she gave birth to a 1.5-pound baby. Tennessee has some very strict abortion laws, and basically, I agree with the pro-choice movement that is coming out and saying that this is going to happen more and more often as the right wing conservative party continues to limit clinical abortions. I mean, there's really no way around it. But she faces 3 felonies: aggravated assault, attempted procurement of a miscarriage, and attempted criminal abortion. We can sit here and talk about a woman's right to choose all we want. I mean, if you get it, you get it. I don't know what to say to people that don't. But this is the reality. This is what's going to happen.
I mean, did they, the doctors basically turned her over to the police?
Well, yeah, when she got there, she had explained what had happened, and
I see.
That's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, and the more unfortunate part of it is, I predict as President Pence, it's going to get worse and more often.
Yeah, and their whole thing is to deflect to the states' rights, and unfortunately in Tennessee and Texas and these states like that, this is the norm. You're not going to see a case like this happen in California or New York,
right?
But these red states, emboldened by the state power kind of thing, that they're pushing. We'll see more of it. I'm afraid.
Well, here you go. Along with a dozen other states, Texas, just like is riding on Mike Pence's wave, now requires burial or cremation for aborted fetuses. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he's giving a voice to the unborn.
Jesus Christ.
And really what this is doing 2 things. It's shaming mothers that have an abortion, whether it's completely by choice or for medical reasons. It's basically rubbing the dog's nose in it is what it is. It's completely shameful. But what it's also doing is, for the poor people, it's adding an extra expense. I mean, this is one more expense onto poor people that, for whatever reason, do not want to have a child. But basically, this is kind of revenge on Greg Abbott's part, because this came after the Supreme Court. Remember last year, Texas attempted to outlaw abortions, and they've been trying to defund Planned Parenthood by getting all these crazy building codes to close down Planned Parenthood clinics. When all that got shot down last year in federal court, this is their response to that.
You know what would be ironic, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but if if a woman on Medicare were to have an abortion in Texas, if that even exists in Texas, were to have one, and then you basically charge that to the state, so then it's the taxpayers paying for the burial of it. I mean, it's a sad situation.
It is
overall,
yes, this is exactly what I was thinking. It is a sad situation, but I do see your point. But speaking of people that don't see our point and don't see too much of any points of logic, everybody hear what happened to the Trump supporter on the Delta Airlines plane? Just in case you didn't, listen to this fuck.
Donald Trump, baby! That's right, this man knows what's up. We got some Hillary on here. It's your presidents, every one of you. If you don't like it, too bad.
Why? On a plane? Seriously?
I don't fly very often, but I wish I would have been on that plane. It's amazing. The people that, what makes you do this? How insecure do you have to be?
People are nervous enough on a fucking plane. Shut up. Don't remind me that Trump's president. Ugh.
The good news is he's banned for life, right?
From Delta.
Yeah, from Delta.
Yeah, I've never flown Delta, so that doesn't help me. He's going to be sitting next to me on Southwest because those fuckers don't have assigned seating, so he's going to end up sitting right next to me. And I'm going to have to sit there and listen to this fucking guy, and then I'm going to get banned off Southwest because he's going to overcome my nonviolent attitude, and then we're going to have a fucking problem. Ah, the piece of shit. Anyway, more news from Texas, and this one really sucks because I know quite a few people that are being affected by this, and it really does piss me off. So, a Texas federal judge has blocked Obama's what's being called the white collar minimum wage bill. And what this does is it raises the salary, it raises the wages for salaried employees to a minimum of $47,892 a year. So I have had employees, and I switched companies right before this would have happened to me. So it never happened to me, but I've witnessed it happen to others, where you're making $13, $14 an hour, and you are salaried. They can work you 60 hours a fucking week on $13 an hour and not pay you OT. So this is what Obama tried to get done. This federal judge has blocked it. This is the fourth time in 21 months that a Texas federal judge has stalled an initiative from Obama. And this judge has the support of a bunch of business groups and 21 other states. Basically right now it's being held for Donald Trump to decide on, and I'm pretty sure I know where I'd put my money if I had to bet on whether he's going to uphold this or not.
Well, I mean, I imagine, I don't know if Donald Trump would have to do with it. I would imagine that, or I guess maybe the appeal process, right? Because if Obama has time, he would have filed for an appeal, and it would take it to the next highest court. But I guess...
well, as far as I know, Obama did this through executive order, so that should be reversible by the incoming president if it never went through in the first place, right?
I'm not sure. I think, I mean, if it's an executive order, I would imagine they would have to still debate the legality of it to the next highest court. That's what I'm thinking. But I could also see... that's not going to happen between now and January.
Right.
I can see Trump coming in and just saying, "Oh, who's the government-backed lawyer for that? Oh, cancel him." You know, and just
pretty much.
We're not going to have, we're not going to argue our case.
You're
on
fired.
This. Yeah. So that is horrible. The thing that they do, and I think places like McDonald's have taken a lot of charge for it, because they'll hire somebody as a manager, and salary them, and then work them like a dog, and like you said, no overtime pay. So I mean, it's definitely a good idea, and we'll see where it goes going forward.
And I can't name the companies for professional reasons, but I do know a few companies that are going to do this anyway. So if you know of any of these guys, more power to them. I know some people are going to keep it in place no matter what. So that is a good thing. I was shocked to hear that there is a fraction of corporate America that I've discovered over the last few weeks since this news came out that's going to keep this going, and that's awesome. So moving on, just to remind everybody what Pizzagate is. Pizzagate is a fake news article that came out that basically said there is a pizzeria by the name of Ping Pongs, I think, in Washington, D.C., and this is where Hillary Clinton runs her sex slave trafficking ring. So this went all over the internet, and the other day, a white male with armed walked into this pizzeria in D.C., and said he was there to investigate the news story, the fake news story that Hillary Clinton is using that as a trafficking ring. Now, there's psychos out there. We all know that. But the worst part of this news is Michael Flynn Jr., son of our new national security advisor, tweeted that Pizzagate is true until proven otherwise. So our new national security advisor's son is tweeting out basically saying that Hillary Clinton is running this obviously illegal sex trafficking ring, and nobody's going to convince the smart people until there is proof that she's not. But this is kind of like proving that God doesn't exist when you can't see him or anything else. All we can say is what?
That's the way our justice system was founded on: guilty until proven innocent. I mean,
in today's day and age, yes. But Hillary Clinton's not black, so that doesn't make sense. I had to say it. Well, it's true.
maybe the fake news article said she was.
we all know Bill was known to have a little bit. So
they said he was the first black president. So.
Until Barack. So, hey, well, good news. We had a win for Standing Rock. Actually, in my opinion, we've had 2 wins for Standing Rock, and the first one that happened was the first win they got was when veterans joined together and came to act as a human shield for the protesters. That's what we need. We need more. Not that veterans are a minority group, but special interest groups and minority groups backing each other up. That's what we need to have happen more often. And to hear that the veterans are going down there from all walks of life, but veterans went down there to act as human shields for the protesters is amazing news. And that's, to me, that's their first win. Their second win came when an easement had to be approved, and it was for the pipeline construction to continue, and it was rejected by the Army Corps of Engineers, which is basically halting pipeline construction for now. Now, there's a lot of rumors on the internet about Trump having ties to the pipeline, and with as many businesses and industries as he has his tiny little fingers in, I mean, it's plausible. But just so everybody knows, that Trump stated that he will look into this situation when he gets into office. Again, I would bet money that this is going to continue under his watch. But if you look at Snopes.com, Snopes says that Trump's financial ties to the pipeline are unproven. Trump did sell off large portions of his energy stock last summer, but nobody knows to what companies. We don't know if he still has investments or ever did have investments in companies that have an interest in this pipeline. But we would know if the fucking hackers that are supposed to be keeping everybody honest, fuck you, Julian Assange, would do their goddamn diligence on the other side of the party and release this piece of shit's fucking tax returns. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. There's no proof that he does have ties at this moment.
Yeah, I guess just touching on it a little bit, and we haven't. I mean, we talked about it. You know, I would say definitely before any of the mainstream news, but we haven't really touched on it week to week because there hasn't really been too much progress or too much actual news. But I mean, personally, I've kept up with the story, and I watched different videos from over there, and it's definitely, to me, obviously as an atheist person, to see the natives in their prayer groups and chanting and stuff. I mean, it's chilling to me, that these people still have their way of life, and all they want is to just keep it. And we just can't. We're just fucking it up, And,
yeah, because you know what they're not doing? They're not blowing themselves up over shit. They're not starting wars, and they're not banging on my door at 6 o'clock in the morning on a fucking Sunday to spread their message. So their religion is perfectly fine with me. Not to mention that religion was here before the rest of us were. So, I mean, that I mean in this country.
Yeah, it's yeah, like I said, it's good news. Hopefully, we'll see where it goes, but it is nice to get a little bit of good news. And the veterans headed over there was a great thing too. So it's been a long time coming, I guess.
But we do have more squabbling. So here's a clip from the DNC campaign versus Hillary Clinton's campaign versus the Trump campaign. Take a listen.
Well, let me.
If providing a platform for white supremacists makes me a brilliant tactician, I am glad to have lost. And give me a minute, David. I am more proud of Hillary Clinton's all right speech than any other moment on the campaign, because she had the courage to stand up. I would rather lose than win the way you guys did.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes. Yes.
That's very clear today. No, you wouldn't, respectfully. I'm sorry, how exactly did we win? No, go for it, Jen. How exactly did we win? I'd like to know, because I've sacrificed the last 4 months of my life to do it. Excuse me. Do you think I ran a campaign where white supremacists had a platform? You going to look me in the face and tell me that?
It did. Kellyanne
really?
did.
And that's how you lost?
It did.
Do you think you could have just had a decent message for the white working class voters? Do you think this woman who has nothing in common with anybody...
I'm not saying that's why you won, but that's
these
kind of
counties
campaign
we
that was
flipped
run.
over 200 counties that President Obama won and Donald Trump just won. You think that's because of what you just said, or because people aren't ready for a woman president? Really? How about it's Hillary Clinton? She doesn't connect with people. How about they have nothing in common with her?
So this is a tradition that takes place after every election where you get both sides of the campaign and they kind of sit around and they have a very calm, civil discussion about their campaigns and the election, and they kind of wish each other luck and everything's nice. Obviously, that wasn't the case. This took place in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and basically they fought over Trump's strategy and his promotion, and the DNC was accusing him of promoting white nationalism. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, guilty as charged. But as you and I discussed offline, the DNC does not understand why they lost. They're looking at this the wrong way. In my opinion, instead of looking at this as your candidate won by stirring up white nationalism, they should be saying, holy shit, this guy won and he even stirred up white nationalism. What the fuck did we do wrong? That's how I think the DNC should be looking at this. They shouldn't be looking at this as him stirring up white nationalism won him the election. Their faults won him the election.
Exactly, and that's the attitude that they've taken from day one, since the election, basically, and that, you know, it's, oh, it was the Bernie or busters, or oh, it was the people that didn't vote, or oh, it was no, you guys should have ran a better campaign. All those things are factors, but the bottom line is, if you guys would have ran a solid campaign, Hillary Clinton didn't speak to the press for months. It was like 3 months that she didn't give an interview. You know, it's just like, or answer a question from the press.
And Kellyanne Conway pointed that out, and I hate to say that.
I mean, how long? I mean, really, 3 months without answering a question? You know, it's just.
Or visiting the states that lost you the election.
And Nancy Pelosi was just a voted minority leader in the House, and she said, "I don't think Democrats want change. I think everything is good." And that is the mentality that they still have, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, and obviously you and I differ on the responsibility that lies with the 90 million people that didn't vote and stuff like that. I still think the responsibility also relies on them. However, we're not talking about them at this moment. We are talking about Hillary Clinton, her campaign, and how lost and out of touch the DNC has become. How do you lose your base? How do you lose the working class? That's what I mean, and this was a crazy election, and the DNC was not prepared for it. That's just the bottom line. But I mean, speaking of the election, we got Trump, who, God, this guy's contradictions. It's so hard to keep up. So Trump's campaign and his lawyers are fighting the recounts that are being initiated right now by the Green Party's nominee Jill Stein in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania because there's no evidence that voter fraud took place. While on the other tinier hand, Trump is claiming that he won the popular vote, except you would need to discount the millions of cases of voter fraud. Now, before we talk about this, the good news is the recounts will proceed in Wisconsin and Michigan, and the Green Party lawyers are continuing the fight in Pennsylvania. But as of right now, that's where that whole thing stands. So, I mean, I think I support what Jill Stein is doing. However, I think it's ridiculous that she's saying that she's not doing this to help Hillary. She's choosing the 3 fucking states that cost Hillary Clinton the goddamn election. She should just come out and say it. There is a difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and she shouldn't have fucking campaigned like that.
I got nothing.
Seriously, though. God damn it. But anyway, like I said, we support that effort. We'll keep you guys updated and see where we end up there. Hey, you know what? If there's any other time for a fucking miracle to take place, we'll see. Moving on though, we got some more stuff with Trump. So he's got his businesses, and he saved 1,000 jobs with Carrier. You remember when he forgot his promise?
I'm sure that's happened multiple times in his life.
Well, he promised that he was going to save every job from Carrier and prevent Carrier from moving. And then he said that he saved 1,000 of the 2,000 jobs in Carrier and forgot that he even made the promise. So there we go. Trump saved jobs. Hey, he's making America great again. Alex, do you have anything wrong with this?
There's a couple things.
Just a few.
I mean, the headlines look good, I guess, right? So it's like, oh, Trump talks Carrier out of moving to Mexico. Unfortunately, I guess when you kind of read in between the lines, so this company gets a tax cut for keeping, there was definitely, some incentive on their part. They basically made a deal that profits them. And it sets a precedent that all I have to do is threaten to move out of the country, and then I'm going to get a tax break.
Right. And according to Vanity Fair, this does nothing to remedy or prevent the further loss of jobs, which we've had 5 million manufacturing jobs move out of this country from 1997 to 2014. That's about 300,000 a year. And yeah, I mean, basically, I'm sure companies will stay here if we're going to pay them, ungodly amounts of money.
I mean, like, what part of this is free enterprise?
Good point.
It's like, this is not free market. This is what the hell is it? I mean, obviously crony capitalism, but Jesus Christ. I mean, how is somebody that's not Carrier supposed to compete with this now? They're not going to get the tax break, and they might have never considered moving to Mexico because they're a good person and thought this is an American company.
But now I can make money.
Keep American jobs, but
well, I mean, this is how batshit crazy this guy really is. I mean, this happened right after we went on break, but I mean, he tweeted that you should lose your citizenship and serve a year in jail for burning a flag.
Yeah, honestly, I forgot to even write that one down, but lose your citizenship. What the fuck is that? There's not even a thing.
I can't. What?
You can't get expelled from the fucking country.
I like the way Stephen Colbert put it. He said he spend a year in jail or lose your citizenship, and Colbert's like, one is not like the other. One is way worse than the other. Kind of like Hillary and Trump. And that I like the way he put that. This guy actually equates losing your citizenship with the greatest country that he loves so much with spending a year incarcerated. The man doesn't fucking think. And lastly, before we move on to our last discussion topic, he did meet with Al Gore today and Ivanka to discuss climate change. Now, Ivanka says that she wants to make one of her core issues fighting climate change. The hoax from China, according to her father. And when Al Gore came out of the meeting and was asked by the press what it was like, he said, very interesting, stay tuned.
Well, I mean, from what I had gathered, and Ivanka was going to have she's basically going to be the puppet master of Donald Trump. I mean, she's a big driving force in his businesses and in his life, from what I understand. So I imagine whatever she decides to take a big role in, it's going to have his full backing because he wants to fuck her.
I knew you were fucking going there. Moving on, you got one more. Kind of big news for certain people.
Yeah, Fidel Castro passed away. Cuba's leader. I don't have the date here, but for a long time.
I think it was 1959, I believe.
Yeah. So a little bit. I mean, personally, I've studied a lot of revolution movement, and the Cuban Revolution was a pretty interesting one. I know, obviously, Castro's done some horrible things to political prisoners and people that disagree with him. It seems like Cuba's the place for that since we have Guantanamo Bay over there. But He did for his people at the time. He was, a revolutionary person, obviously, general kind. He was in the trenches, fighting the fight, and a lot of his core principles at the beginning were positive. It obviously didn't turn out, the right way, and Cuba's definitely not a model for the world. But they do have very good healthcare and things like that. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes going forward. And I would just ask people if they have time, watch a documentary or read a good biography on Fidel Castro, and make your opinion for yourself. He's an interesting person in history, I think.
Yeah, and he's committed some major atrocities, but as we've probably seen with revolutions of all types and of all places, it doesn't come without atrocities. Which is why Cuba and many people of Cuban descent that are here in the United States have a very different opinion. I've met quite a few and talked to them since this happened, and none of them really seem to be in the middle. They're either overjoyed or they're saddened. But speaking of overjoyed,
now it's time for AOR's The 5 Giant Dicks of History. And that's going where?
This week, we're going to go back to the 1930s to expose a man who created America's most well-known political dynasty in our history, and basically how he made that happen. So this week's giant dick is Prescott Bush. Yes, he is the father of George H.W. and grandfather of George W. and Jeb. So Prescott Bush began his path to greed and his absence of morality in the 1930s. So after marrying a woman by the name of Dorothy Walker, Prescott was hired on at an investment banking job at Brown Brothers and Harriman. So the new career was awarded to him by his new father-in-law, whose name is George Herbert Walker. So now we know where these weird initials for the first Bush president came from. So here's where everything gets a little bit tricky, though. So after he gets hired on, his first assignment was running what was called the Union Banking Corporation, or UBC. So UBC was a subsidiary of Brown Brothers and Harriman, which was owned by another bank called Bank voor Handel, which was located in the Netherlands, but we'll come back to them later. But just remember that name. So basically, the United Banking Corporation was meant to do one thing, which was do the bidding of a man by the name of Fritz Thyssen. Thyssen owned the largest steel and coal company in Germany, and his main purpose in life was to fund the rise of the new Nazi political party. This came after Thyssen was inspired by Hitler's great speaking ability and political vision, which, to be honest, many Germans were at the time in the beginning, in the early 1930s. But maybe not as much as Fritz Thyssen, who later on inherited his father's fortune for this company after he died after World War I, and used part of his new fortune to buy a palace in Munich, for which he gave to Hitler, and that later became known as the Brown House, or the headquarters for the Nazi Party. So Thyssen used his company's profits to basically fund Hitler's promise to rearm Germany for the rise of the Third Reich. This relationship continued until near the end of the war, when Thyssen was captured in France as he was trying to flee Germany. So now we know a little about this Thyssen guy. Let's go back to Mr. Prescott Bush. So another company owned by UBS, his bank that his new father-in-law gave him the director title of, was called the Consolidated Silesian Steel Company. So I'm going to refer to them as CSSC. CSSC was known for supplying large amounts of steel to the German war machine, as well as for using Jewish slaves from concentration camps, including Auschwitz, to do their work. 2 Holocaust survivors even tried to sue the U.S. government and the Bush family back in 2004 for benefiting from one of history's most famous atrocities. So, by the late 1930s, Prescott and United Banking Company was responsible for sending millions in gold, steel, coal, and bonds to aid Nazi war efforts. By the end of World War II, UBC and Brown Brothers and Harriman, along with a large portion of their clients, had their assets and money seized by the Alien Property Committee. This is an international committee that sorts out international finance crimes. So it was actually the Alien Property Committee that discovered that UBC and Brown Brothers and Harriman were owned by this mysterious bank, Voor Handel, in the Netherlands. So remember earlier when I said that these banks were to do the bidding of the German industrialist Fritz Thyssen. Well, that's because Bank Voor Handel was owned by Fritz and his brother August Thyssen. And guess who was named as a beneficiary for the bank when the APC ordered its liquidation? Prescott Bush. Prescott Bush received $1.5 million in shares, which he sold immediately. That's just under $14 million in today's dollars. Many believe that this is how the Bush family actually created their dynasty, because after selling off his stock, Prescott Bush entered the political world and ran for Senate, where he was elected in the state of Connecticut and served from 1952 to 1963. So, whether it's Prescott Bush banking for the Nazis, Coca-Cola creating Fanta Orange Soda in order to continue selling to the German market, or IBM honoring their contracts in Germany where they would go and service their products that were used to track Jewish prisoners and slaves in the concentration camps, this is what America looks like when it's ran like a business. Again, like I said last week, and like we talked about with Edward Bernays the week before, none of this is for you. I'm Mike with AOR Podcast. That's Alex. Follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast, and the Age of Reason podcast page on Facebook. And for everything else, AORpodcast.com. We'll see you guys next week for our final episode of the year.